guys, we're gonna do lesson 9.6 now. So if you'll turn to page 527, your assignment today will be 531. And here we go. The name of the lesson is Add Fractional Parts of 10 and 100. The essential question, let's see if we can get this up here, is how can you add fractions when the denominators are 10 or 100? I think this will be pretty simple for most of you. We'll see though. Okay, and I'm playing with the light a little bit. I'm trying to make the videos where you can see them easier. And there are, if you're having trouble seeing a video clearly, there are instructions on my website at the top of the page that says math lessons or math videos that tells you how to make the video have better quality. So whether you're watching on a smartphone or on a computer or Chromebook, it tells you how to do that. So here we go. The fourth grade classes are painting designs on tile squares to make a mural. Mrs. Kirk's class painted 3/10 of the mural. Mr. Becker's class painted 21/100 of the mural. What part of the mural is painted? You know how to add fractions with parts that are the same size. You can use equivalent fractions to add fractions with parts that are not the same size. So basically what we're going to be doing today is finding common denominators, but this is going to be really easy because if you have 3/10 and you're trying to add 21/100, you can't add those together because they don't have a common denominator. But remember, all we have to do to make the 10 turn into 100 is add a 0 on the bottom. And if you do it to the bottom, you do it to the top. So now we can add them together. It's as simple as that. There's more to what we're doing here. So if we have 3/10, we need to multiply it by something to get 100 on the bottom. And if you ask yourself, what do you multiply 10 times to get 100? Well, that's 10. And if you do it to the bottom, you do it to the top. 3 times 10 is 30. So that's what we're doing when we add those zeros to the numerator and denominator. What we're really doing is multiplying them both by 10. But that's just kind of a shortcut. So here we go. Okay. Step 1, write 3/10 and 21/100 as a pair of fractions with a common denominator. So let's go up here. Make sure you can see it. Okay. So just like I did a second ago, we're going to multiply 3/10 times 10 over 10, and that gives us 30/100. Now, so we bring that 30/100 over here. They've already done it for us. And 30/100 plus 21/100. So remember, when you're adding, you can stack those up because when we add fractions, remember the denominator stays the same. So we don't have to worry about anything on the denominator. So we're essentially just adding 30 plus 21. So 0 plus 1 is 1, 3 plus 2 is 5. So that is 51/100. So 51/100 of the mural is painted. See, I told you, you guys are going to get this, no problem. Okay, so now they want us on this next one to add 4/100 plus 1/10. In order to turn 1/10 into hundredths, we are going to multiply the numerator and denominator both by 10. That gives us 10 hundredths. So remember, we started with 4 hundredths. We don't add a 0 to that 4 because it already has a denominator of 100. So the only fraction that we needed to change is the one that has the denominator of 10. We turn that into 10 hundredths, and then we've got a common denominator and can add. 10 plus 4 is 14. Okay, so just remember, you don't start adding zeros to the top for no reason, because you have to do the same thing to the bottom, and we don't want to turn it into 1,000 on the bottom. Okay. All right. Now we're going to add decimals. Sean lives 5/10 of a mile from the store. The store is 25 hundredths of a mile from his grandmother's house. Sean is going to walk to the store and then to his grandmother's house. How far will he walk? So we're going to add 5/10 plus 25 hundredths. So we can turn 5/10 into 5 over 10, 5/10, and then 25 hundredths we can turn into 25 hundredths. Now this is basically what we have right now. We have 5/10 plus 25 hundredths. So we're going to have to add our zeros and turn that into 50 hundredths. So 50 hundredths, that kind of looks like a 6. Okay, 50 hundredths plus 25 hundredths. And, oh, we skipped a step. I'm going to back up here. Hang on a minute. They want us to write that as 5/10. Okay, so then 5/10 we multiply by 10 over 10, giving us 50 hundredths. My 5s keep looking like 6s, guys. Okay, 5 hundredths. So then 5/10 plus 25 hundredths, we're going to write it as 50 hundredths plus 25 hundredths. And that gives us 75 hundredths. Now, how do you write 75 hundredths as a decimal? Well, there are no holes. It's not a mixed number. So 0 in the ones place, and then 75 hundredths. So Sean will walk 0.75 or 75 hundredths of a mile. Next, they want you to add 25 cents plus 40 cents. So we can, of course, stack these up. 0.25 plus 0.40. So we start here in the hundredths place. 5 plus 0 is 5. 2 plus 4 is 6. Our decimal point comes down, and then 0. So that is 65 cents. Let's see here. I do want to show you guys really quick one thing. When you're adding decimals, you need to remember to line up the decimal point. So let me show you what I mean here. If we were adding 5/10 like we did before to 25 hundredths, we would line it up like that. You line up the decimal point. So this is basically like a 0, right? So 0 plus 5 is 5, and 5 plus 2 is 7. So that's how you add decimals that don't have the same number of digits, you just line up that decimal point, those decimal points. Okay. Last page, 7/10 plus 5/100. Okay, so we're going to come over here and turn 7/10 into hundredths, and of course it will be 70 hundredths. So that means we're going to add 70 hundredths. We don't do anything to the 5/100 because it already has 100 on the bottom. So 70 hundredths plus 5/100 is 75 hundredths. Okay, and then we can find the sum. So on these, I'm going to just, to make it a little bit quicker, I'm just going to add the zeros to the top and bottom of the fraction that has a 10 on the bottom. I'm going to leave the fraction with 100 on the bottom alone. So 0 on top, 0 on bottom. So 10 hundredths plus 11 hundredths is 21 hundredths, because 10 plus 11 is 21. Okay? 36 hundredths plus 5/10. I'm going to add my zeros behind the 5 and the 10. So that's 36 plus 50 would give us 86 hundredths. Okay, and over here we've got 16 cents plus 45 cents. So I'm going to line up those decimal places. So 6 plus 5 is 11. Put down the 1, carry the 1. 4 plus 1 plus 1 is 6. Decimal point bring down, and then a 0 in front of it. So 16 cents plus 45 cents is 61 cents. And then 8 cents plus 88 cents. So we're going to go, I didn't do my dollar signs over here. Dollar sign 0.08 plus dollar sign 0.88. So 8 plus 8 is 16. Put down the 6, carry the 1. 8 plus 1 is 9. Bring down the decimal place. So that total would be 96 cents. Okay, here is the on your own problems. So if you want to pause the video now and try these out, and then resume in just a minute and see if you got them right. Okay, so let's do red this time. Okay, so I'm going to add my 0 behind the 6 and the 10, make it 60 plus 25. So I'm going to come over here and stack those up, and that will give me 85 hundredths. Okay, we've got to turn this into 100, so 77 hundredths. Okay, then I'm going to stack these up. Dollar sign 0.55 plus dollar sign 0.23, and that gives us 78 cents. And then 19 cents plus 13 cents, dollar sign 0.19, dollar sign 0.13. 9 plus 3 is 12. Put down the 2, carry the 1, and that will give you 32 cents. Okay. So these you have to think a little bit. So you're going to have to ask yourself what you would add. Okay, I'm going to do these on the board here. Okay. So we're doing 20 hundredths plus something, some amount of tenths, is going to give us 60 hundredths. So you're going to ask yourself, what do I add to 20 to get 60? Well, that's of course 40. However, it would be 40 hundredths, right? And since they've got it in the form of tenths, we're going to cross off these zeros and make it 4 tenths. So, if we started from scratch on this, just to check it, and we said 20 hundredths plus 4 tenths should equal 60 hundredths. And we know that we need to find a common denominator, so I'm going to put zeros there and there. And yes, 20 plus 40 is 60. Okay, so we're kind of just working backwards here. The next one is 2 tenths plus some amount of hundredths will give us 90 hundredths. So the first thing that we have to do is turn this guy into hundredths, right? So we're going to go ahead and do that. So 20 plus something gives us 90. Well, if you're not sure, you can always find the difference. We're finding the difference. Remember, when you're adding two numbers together, you can subtract to find the difference. So 90 minus 20. 0 minus 0 is 0. 9 minus 2 is 7. So is 20 plus 70 90? Yes, it is. So our missing number was 70. Okay, and now Jerry had 1 gallon of ice cream. He used 3 tenths to make chocolate milkshakes and 40 hundredths gallon to make vanilla milkshakes. How much ice cream does Jerry have left after making the milkshakes? So, he's got a gallon, which is 1 whole. And he uses 3 tenths to make chocolate milkshakes. And then he uses 40 hundredths to make vanilla milkshakes. So how much does he have left? So first we've got to figure out how much he's already used, and then find the difference in how much he's used from the whole that he started with. Okay, so we can't really add decimals and fractions. We have to get them to be in the same form. Right now we got apples and oranges. So we gotta make apples and apples or oranges and oranges. Okay, so I'm going to turn 40 hundredths into 40 hundredths. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this decimal guy, 40 hundredths, and just write it like this, 40 hundredths. Okay, and then I know to add these two fractions together, I got to put my zeros there. So 40 hundredths plus 30 hundredths is 70 hundredths. That isn't our answer though. If our answer asks how much has he used so far, then that would be our answer. But the question says, how much ice cream does he have left? This is how much he's used. So we have to think, he's used 70 hundredths. Well, how much did he start with? He started with 1 gallon. 1 gallon. Take away 70 hundredths. Well, 1 gallon, how many hundredths are there in 1 whole gallon? Well, we talked about this when we were learning about fractions. We can turn that 1 whole into the same numerator and a number that has a fraction that has the same numerator and denominator. So we know we're dealing with hundredths here. How many hundredths are there in one whole? 100 hundredths, because fractions are division problems, and 100 divided by 100, or if you have 100 parts, 100 cookies, and 100 kids, everybody gets one cookie. So 100 minus 70 is 30, and then we're dealing with hundredths. So that's how much he has left. So to record this, to write down the answer, we're going to go 3/10 plus 40 hundredths equals actually 30 hundredths plus 40 hundredths equals 70 hundredths. And 1 whole equals 100 hundredths. And then 100 hundredths minus 70 hundredths equals 30 hundredths left. 30 hundredths of a gallon left. Okay, that's all. Not too bad. A couple important things to remember. Don't touch the fraction that already has 100 on the bottom. You don't do anything to that. And just the one that has a 10 on the bottom, you add a 0 to it, but you do the same thing on top. And then you do your math. Hope you're doing well. I miss you. Happy Friday if you're watching this on Friday. Love ya.